Welcome back to another beautiful day here at Classic Firearms, guys. Kai over here, and today we're going to talk about full-size, compact, subcompact, and micro-compact pistols, and basically explore the pros and cons to each one of them, because you're most likely watching this video because you're thinking about concealed carrying a pistol and exploring your options, or you already do carry a concealed carry pistol and you're trying to see if you have the right option on you. Obviously it depends on the person and the situation and what your needs are. In this case, let's talk about the sizes first. It seems like some people really don't know the differences quite right yet. So let's explore that and then move on to pros and cons. We've got the SIG M17 over here, the US Army's sidearm. This is the full-size gun. You can see it's got a longer slide. The frame is huge. It's just a big gun right here. This, we call it full-size. And then a slightly shorter version, the US Marine Corps' M18 over here. You could tell the frame is about the same, just a smaller barrel, and I call this compact. Normally, compact guns also have this frame, just a little bit smaller as well, but in this case I would say this is a compact. Moving on to the P365X, obviously comp from 6 Hour, and I would call this a subcompact gun. You know, it's got a 17 round mag capacity, so a little bit longer grip, but it's a pretty small gun, you know. So this is a subcompact, I would say. And in this case, we've got the P365 XL. Yeah, this is something in between the micro and P365X, obviously a macro comp over here. So some people may call this actually a subcompact gun. If you look at it, it's pretty small. The frame is small. The slide, I would say, obviously, definitely a subcompact category, but the frame is closer to micro for me. But again, I call this hybrid between micro and macro. Some people may disagree on that one. And moving on to P365, and this is micro. I mean, this is a tiny gun right here. Very short barrel and very small frame. I can't obviously get my pinky on there at all. It just keeps slipping. And this is about it. So when we talk about the pros and cons to all of this, and because we all, as humans, genders, doesn't matter, we come in different sizes and shapes. So some people may conceal carry this big boy right here, and it would be just fine for them. They can very easily conceal carry, and some people may conceal carry this, right? Depends on the size. So let's talk about the pros and cons. First and foremost, capacity. When you think about a micro, you immediately think of having a very little capacity. And capacity is extremely important when it comes to defensive situations. You want to be able to, you want to have enough rounds on you to get the job done. Very important. And we shoot as many as we need to end the threat that's in front of us. There's no a black and white answer to this. So you don't shoot 3 times or 5 times or 7 times. You go as much as you can. And most gunfights are dynamic. The target is moving, you're moving, there's going to be accuracy issues, so you need capacity. In this case, we've got 10 rounds. Now this is a 380 version. All of these firearms over here, they're all 9mm. We got the 380 version over here, but this specific P365 also comes in 9mm. In this case, I've got the 380. No big deal. So there's 10 rounds in here. And you could get one of those extended magazines with a little lip right here, so you could get your pinky over it. But that'll obviously increase the grip for you, so it's going to reduce the concealability. But you can increase the capacity that way. And nowadays, some companies are doing a great job increasing the capacity. For example, Glock 43. Well, those guys came up with an awesome, nice little concealable micro handgun, but only 6 rounds capacity. I mean, 6 rounds is ridiculous, in my opinion. It's not enough. And yes, you're gonna have accuracy issues. Those guys who say that, oh yeah, I can get the job done. If you can't get the job done in 6 rounds, you shouldn't be carrying. That's absolutely false. Absolutely. So you're going to need more capacity. And with that being said, Shield Arms out there, when fixed that problem, increased that 6 rounds to 9 rounds capacity. And for Glock 43X, they went from 10 rounds to 15 rounds, which is fantastic. So companies out there, you know, they're innovating. They're coming up with more capacity magazines that are compatible with micro or subcompact guns. So capacity is extremely important. In this case, we've got the P365 XL over here. It's got 12 round magazine capacity. And 12 plus 1, 13, I think that is fantastic. And again, this is kind of hybrid between micro and the macro over here, subcompact, in my opinion. And we've got the macro, and this guy has 17 round magazine capacity. Now, this is phenomenal. I mean, just a few years back, if you go back 10 years, you couldn't have anything like this. You couldn't have a gun about this size, and you get yourself a 17 plus 1, 18 round capacity concealable handgun, which is phenomenal. And I call this a subcompact gun. Now, who needs, like, okay, I'm not even gonna go to the full size and this compact over here. Let's talk about concealability. Not everybody can conceal the subcompact over here, but you gotta ask yourself, what's really important to you? We talked about the capacity, but then you wanna be able to handle the firearm properly. In order to handle the firearm properly, you gotta train yourself. And a gun needs to fit in your hand just fine for you to be able to handle it properly, enjoy shooting it, and the more you enjoy it, the more you're gonna go to the range and actually shoot it. For me, I'm gonna talk about, for me in this case, micro is extremely small. I can't even hold a gun, right? I can't even hold a gun. It's very small. Yes, I can conceal this very easily. I can put it in my pocket, in a holster, obviously. I can conceal it anywhere and you won't be able to see it, even with the tight shirts that I wear. But guess what? I can still conceal this thing all day long. However, if I get into a gunfight situation, I can't manipulate this thing the way I obviously can manipulate the subcompact. So for me, this wouldn't be ideal. I can't get my hand wrapped around it. So that means I can't really handle this firearm as good as a subcompact. And if I can't handle this good, my shot placement is not going to be all that good. And if I have to reload, do a magazine exchange, I can't even get the magazine off the gun. I have to really work on it, and then I have to put a new magazine in, and my meaty hands just in between kind of gets in the way, and I can't even like reload the gun properly. I feel like I'm gonna have problems, and I'm not even under stress right now. So imagine if I'm in a, God forbid, a gunfight, a very high stress situation, adrenaline is high, blood pressure is up, like heartbeat 160, 170, I'm not gonna be able to manipulate this gun. And yes, training does solve most of these problems, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna wanna train with this thing because it's too small for me. Now, moving on to the subcompact over here, it fits great in my hand. Yes, I'm gonna have maybe not as good concealability as the micro over here, but this is small enough where I can still conceal this thing. But yeah, look at this thing. And I've got this, and I wanna do a mag change, and I could put the magazine in and out very easily. If I have to do any immediate action, if the gun has a double feed or I've got a little stovepipe, I can tap rack. I can get this gun back into fight much easily. And with that being said, I like the way this gun feels in my hand. We've all heard when you buy a handgun, you want to make sure that it fits in your hand, like it feels good in your hand. So, because the better it feels in your hand, the more accurate, the better you're going to be handling this firearm. Now, I'm going to jump on to from handling to accuracy, which they are basically in bed together, right? And when it comes to accuracy, for this one, it's a bigger gun, right? It's got a longer slide. Obviously, it's got a comp, so you're gonna have less recoil here, but forget the comp, right? I can hold the gun better. It's a longer gun. It's heavier, obviously. All of this is in favor of better recoil management. Now, my little micro over here, it's a very small gun. There's a misconception out there, and I didn't know this until recently, that a smaller gun kicks less. It's actually the opposite, okay? It's a 9mm. I know this is a 380 in this case. See, I can't even get the magazine out. This is 380 in this case, but there's a 9mm version of this. The round don't change. The gun is smaller, it's lighter, shorter barrel, just overall smaller, so it's going to kick more. So when it kicks more, some people talk about the sight radius for the accuracy, which, yes, a bigger gun is gonna have a longer sight radius, you're gonna have to line them up much better, whatever, right? Fine. But I look at it follow through. If I'm aiming this and I'm firing this thing, this kicks more than your average, like your subcompact or full-size guns. So I'm gonna have to work harder to get back on target for my follow-throughs. Therefore, it's going to affect my accuracy. And we all know in defensive situations, shot placement is absolutely critical. We are responsible for every round that we fire in these guns. So you really got to be accurate out there, because carrying this thing is not just cool. Like, I mean, you don't want to, like, it's not a cool thing to do to carry a handgun. I don't carry it for that. It's for personal safety, and it comes with great responsibility. And with great responsibility, you got to pick the right option for you. So for me, you can tell this is not the right pistol for me. But I'm maybe a little bit bigger guy, a person compared to a lot of people. If somebody who's like 5'2" or tiny little hands, well, this would be perfect. This may feel in your hand the way this subcompact feels in my hand. So you really have to explore. That's why I'm hitting these points, so you understand the importance of the capacity. Make sure you get the right capacity. When it comes to the way it feels in your hand, it needs to feel right. I hate a handgun when I can't put all my fingers there. I don't like that. Yes, again, it's more concealable, I get it. But what's more important to you? You're gonna get in a gunfight, you're carrying this thing to hopefully protect yourself in that time that never comes, hopefully. But when it does, if it does, you wanna be able to properly use this gun to protect yourself. Well, what's more important? Like, I understand, find something in between, but for me, I'll change my clothes, I'll do something different, but I'll carry something that I know I can run effectively. I know that I can train properly, and I wanna train with it, and I know in a really stressful situation, I can handle the weapon system just fine, fire accurate shot placements, and kind of hopefully save myself or those around me. So basically, you guys can clearly tell what I like personally. This doesn't mean that's what you're supposed to pick. Again, the points that I hit, you're supposed to utilize those points to pick the right one for you. So micro over here, and clearly the subcompact is my favorite. X macro, but why don't we talk about the P365 XL? Now, this is something in between. If you look at the frame, it is bigger and longer than actually the micro over here, but slightly smaller than the X macro over here, which I call subcompact, and the P365 XL to be a hybrid. So how does that feel? Now, 6 Hour offers this option. Generally, either got the subcompact or the micro. Either the gun is just very small, or they're about the size for a subcompact. Well, you know, I guess, what is that? A Canic Microcompact, and that, what was the other one? Yeah, SAR 9 subcompact and Canic Microcompact. Those two guns are actually about the size, I'd say. So Canic calls it Microcompact, SAR calls it subcompact. Okay, anyways, so how does this feel? Honestly, when you look at it, like, I hold it barely, like my pinky is there, so it doesn't feel obviously as good as the X macro, but it's still there. This is still a viable option, I would say. And the barrel length is the same as the X macro. Sight radius is obviously a little bit longer than the X macro, or even the micro, due to comp being on the X macro, clearly. Yep, we can see it right here, which helps lining them up a little bit, but again, it's just a very, very little difference. And some people say, oh, you know what, accuracy, sight radius, you can throw a red dot on it. Fine, yep, absolutely. You can throw a red dot on a micro, for sure. But again, for accuracy issues, not necessarily for sight radius for me. It's just going to kick more. Yes, smaller gun will kick more. Go kick more, then you'll have to work harder to put it back on target. So follow-throughs are going to slow down, or you're just going to spray all over the place. So there is that, but XL is actually pretty good. It feels good in the hand, good enough, small enough to be able to conceal it, for sure. Yeah, it's a very viable option. And if I were to pick, again, if I was going to go pick something between the micro and the XL, it's clear winner for me, a guy my size, these hands over here, I would be going with the XL for sure. Now, honestly, I would still go with the XL. Seriously, I'm just making this decision right on camera here, because the X macro, yes, it gives you 17 round plus 1 capacity, but it's a little bit bigger, right? You got the magazine bottom plate sticking out. I feel like concealability would be a little bit more challenging with this. But with the same barrel length, smaller frame, flush fit over here magazine, I'd say, yeah, XL is definitely a much better option when it comes to concealability. Which one would you pick, Ryan?
XL.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's XL is pretty good. Right in between.
Macro frame, or X macro slide on an XL frame.
I agree. Yeah, you get the little comp over there too. True, which we talked about that in the past. Yeah, I would be definitely rooting for the XL and the X macro over here for concealing for me. Now moving on to the compact. Now this is a compact gun. Again, I don't think we hit one point here, and that is the weight. Yes, this is lighter. This is micro is much lighter. It'll be so much easier to carry, but again, I always go to when that bad situation comes, it's not the concealability, it's how I handle that gun. That's what's gonna save me, or those around me. That's a very, very big, important part. But in this case, we've got the compact here. It is heavy, guys. All right, we've got the 17 round magazine capacity here and loaded mag with the gun. This is heavy. All right, you better have a really good holster, tight belt, and a pretty loose shirt, which I have none at home, and conceal this. It's a pretty big gun. I wouldn't really recommend concealing this thing. It's just too big. But some people do. Too big, yes. However, it will be great when it comes to being in a situation. Oh my God, I would wish that I had something like this in my hand, but again, it's not practical to conceal it. And obviously, when it comes to M17, the full size, forget about it. I do have a couple of friends in law enforcement. They carry Glock 34s, which is the longer, like not just the full size, like the extra large Glock as their concealed carry option. They're like, hey, I carry it on duty. I'm very good with it. I'm very proficient with it. So I'm just gonna carry it off duty as well. So they change their clothing accordingly to be able to accommodate their concealed carry option. That is about it. So we hit multiple different points. Obviously the weight, capacity, recoil, the way you handle that firearm, and accuracy of the firearm. You gotta have all these points in front of you and make those points pick the gun for you. Lastly, no matter what you pick, you have to train. These are tools. I don't call these weapons. Weapons are you. If you don't train, you're useless. These things are useless. In fact, they're actually more dangerous. Okay? You have to train, because you're responsible for every round that comes out of these guns. And God forbid you're trying to do a good thing, save yourself or maybe save somebody else, and you end up doing more harm than good. Don't do that. Train yourself. And in order to train yourself, you need to pick something that fits in your hand just fine, that you actually enjoy shooting, that allows you, that pushes you to go to range and train. That is about it. Know the laws in your state, wherever you are. Seek professional help when it comes to training. It's very important. This is not a joke, guys. Don't just take yourself out to train if you have no base whatsoever. That's about it. Let us know in the comment section what you think about what I said about these and what kind of firearm or weapon system you carry concealed, and if there are any other points that you consider when it comes to carrying a concealed carry handgun. That's about it, guys. Thanks for tuning in.